Welcome back to wagertalk.com, NBA playoff talk. We're going to talk about the Zig-Zag Theory. Guys, Preston, probably before your time, but way back in the day, in the 90s, this was gold, the Zig-Zag Theory. And like anything else, as things become good and people talk about it and share that information, the bookmakers make adjustments, and it's not been as good over the last several years, but it's still a topic worth talking about and dissecting it. And Ralph, I know you've got some good numbers, and one of our good friends broke this down in an article, Mark Lawrence, when he's got the databases to go back and pull everything out. Talk about some of the numbers with the Zig-Zag Theory and where it's going.
Mr. Database and good friend Mark Lawrence felt comfortable sharing all these numbers with us. And we're talking about in the 90s, from 91 to 2000, just playing the blind Zig-Zag Theory, playing the team off a loss. It doesn't matter if they covered or not, hit 56% in those 10 years. So an incredible percentage. Now, since that time, from 2001 through this year, it's at 51.5%, so above the 50%, below the Mendoza line of breaking even, but again, a big 4% difference of where it was in those 90s where we could just bet. And I think a lot of that has to do with, the schedules are different. Now series are spread out for TV. You got 2, 3, 4 days breaks because you want to play on the weekends. And you also have some super teams, which you didn't have in those 90s where, you had these Miamis and the Golden States and the Cavs that get all these free agents where all of a sudden teams are sweeping through series, which didn't happen as often in the past as well.
Well, I agree with all of that, and I'm going to say, Preston, that part of this, and I have talked to bookmakers around town, and they will admit they're aware of the Zig-Zag Theory, and they do adjust the line knowing that the public likes to do that. And so you're going to pay, maybe an extra point, whereas back in the day, before everybody, had podcast, radio, Twitter feeds, talking about this stuff, I go back to another thing probably before your time, but you'll remember. Remember the old TV commercials with Calgon and the ancient Chinese secret with the, the guy in his laundry service, you don't want to tell, the ancient Chinese secret. Well, we share all this stuff now with social media and everything, and everybody knows if something's working. It's like the Monday Night Home Dogs in the NFL. Remember when that was good as gold in the late 80s and 90s, and then it's flattened out because the home dogs don't get as many points anymore. Your take on the Zig-Zag Theory?
Yeah, I don't actually bet accordingly or anything. I guess the numbers do show that as, I guess the 2000s and on, it's not really a profitable angle anyways. You can see that it is shaded. Generally, you'll have an example like the Clippers and Jazz. The Clippers were laying -5.5 in game one. Gobert got injured, and he's worth a couple points. So I would say 7.5 is maybe where that line closes with him, that they lost outright. Now you're having to lay 9 yesterday or 8.5, a couple places to bet on the Clippers, which is actually one of the reasons I liked to bet them first half for the $2 play. And it's just paying an extra premium that probably shouldn't be there. At that point, the +9 maybe actually has more value from a numbers perspective. And so you definitely see it in the NBA playoffs. For me, I think where it maybe stems from and where it does have some merit that I'll use maybe to, as part of the equation to end up on a play, but not blindly or anything like maybe you guys did in the 90s. Coaches and teams, if they win a game, they feel really good about how they played, and they don't tend to make any adjustments. The team that loses, they make adjustments. They try to find a way to improve and be better, and in that next game, a lot of times that chess move will trump the previous winning team's game the following game. And so at that point, the other team then makes an adjustment to counter that. And coaches, for whatever reason, off wins, and I'm not saying it's every coach, but especially I think more the mentality of the players are content after a win, and the losing team isn't. And I think those adjustments are why, blind back in the day, if the number was basically the same 2 games in a row, you're getting value in that second game on the losing team.
Yeah, if you win, what are you changing? Everything worked. You're not making the adjustments. And I think, and he did point out a number here, and I don't know if you have that one on yours, Ralph, but one place where it is still, a big number is if a team got beat by double digits. and they scored less than 88 or less in the last game. If you blindly take those teams in the next game, 32, 13, and 2 since 1991. That's, all time.
I think Memphis fell into that spot and then they lost right at the end.
Yeah. Let me tell you two more numbers where it still is relevant. The number 8 seed. That means you're playing a 1 seed. That means the 1 seed's comfortable and you're coming off a loss and they probably crushed you. The number 8 seed, this is the entire 20-year period, is 58.1% off a loss. So a number you should look at. Now, Chicago didn't lose yet, and when they're off a loss, they're a little different scenario. And Memphis, again, fell into that category and didn't cover, playing San Antonio. The second best number of all the categories, breaking down games 2 through 7, breaking down rounds 1 through 4, breaking down seeds 1 through 8, is game number 2 of a series. Over 55.5%, which means basically this. Teams that lose the first game of the series, you have that quick adjustment, you're playing at the same place, you're not traveling, they tend to come back as well. So those are the 2 best numbers out of the zigzag, although we've proven, it's better to blindly play on something that's 51.5% than it is 48.5%. But just pick your best situations out of that and use it to your edge.
Actually, game 3 is at 55% as well, which makes sense as far as the series are not decided yet. Game 2, you're going in after that first one, you're trying to even it up to make it, any road team, their goal is to take 1 game. If they take 1 game on the road, mission accomplished, you're going back home, you stole home court. If a series is tied at 1-1 and you're going back to game 3, that becomes the pivotal game of the series. So it makes sense that those are still the best 2 games as far as the zigzag, because when you're up 3-1, a lot of times, the other team might have given up, or 3-0. You've talked about where we did a video last year, I think, where teams will go ahead and close teams out with a 4-0 sweep.
Game through, as you mentioned, also has the venue change. You have the excited fans. Sometimes your teams haven't been in the playoffs. All of a sudden, boom, you have the first home game. Everyone wants to be at that first home game, which occurs game 3.
There you go. Good stuff on the zigzag. Basically, what we're saying is don't use it blindly anymore, but it is still a valuable tool in the right spot. So don't ignore it completely. Pick your spots with it. And guys, don't forget, if you want to get on board this weekend all access, Thursday through Sunday, you'll get baseball, you'll get basketball, you'll get all of the plays from your favorite capper at Wager Talk. Check it out each and every weekend. The weekend all access, $59. It's the best deal available on the web. We'll be back with more here at wagertalk.com.